in a very big way. What began as a national problem in Greece has quickly metastasized.
Down 400 very quickly, and then down 800, nearly 1,000 in a heartbeat. I mean, it is classic. There were some people there was some kind of
May 6, 2010. In less than 5 minutes,
points in
the Dow
5
Jones
minutes
Index
in
plummeted
what was
nearly
called a
1,000
flash.
points, plunging Wall Street into total chaos. Hundreds of investors saw their fortunes vanish, and large companies lost millions of dollars in the blink of an eye. The authorities were baffled, desperately searching for those responsible for this catastrophe. It was thought that behind such a blow there had to be a giant corporation, one of those that move billions in the markets. But the truth was much more astonishing. The mastermind behind this financial chaos was not a company, but a young man with Asperger's syndrome, operating alone from the comfort of his bedroom. How could a young man still living with his parents cause such a storm in global financial markets? How did he manage to evade the authorities' radar for 5 years while amassing a fortune exceeding $50 million? Armed only with his computer and unparalleled intelligence, he executed maneuvers that shook the heart of Wall Street. And if that weren't disconcerting enough, his own family didn't even know he had amassed a hidden fortune. But, incredible as it may seem, the story did not end as anyone expected. Stay tuned until the end, because we're going to reveal the secrets of this amazing trader. You'll discover how he managed to build a fortune using only his wits, tactics that defied all the rules, and a boldness that brought the financial system to its knees. This is the story of a lone genius who changed the game while the whole world ignored him, until it was too late. Navinder Singh Sarao, a simple and humble young man of Indian origin, was ironically nicknamed the Hounslow Hound. It may sound like a reference to the infamous Wolf of Wall Street, but Navinder was the complete opposite. He was not an eccentric tycoon or a movie villain. He was just a young man living in a working-class slum on the outskirts of London. From an early age, he showed a prodigious ability with numbers, an intelligence so sharp that he seemed destined for greatness, although no one could have imagined to what extent. Despite his humble origins, his innate talent opened many doors for him. After college, Navinder decided to venture into the world of finance, seeking something more exciting than the daily routine of his neighborhood. That's when a simple ad in the London Evening Standard changed his life forever. Can you imagine? A small newspaper clipping got him his first job as a stockbroker at a startup company called Futex Live. No offices in imposing skyscrapers in the city, but rather a modest space above a supermarket, 45 minutes from London. It may not sound like the ideal place for a future financial titan, but for Navinder, it was the perfect place to learn and gain experience in the stock market. Did you know that since he was a child, he spent hours concentrating on playing video games? It turns out that those skills were perfectly suited to his new environment. His work on the stock market required extreme concentration, which was no problem for him. Little by little, he made a name for himself at Futex thanks to his impressive ability to execute large transactions with a level of success that left everyone perplexed. To achieve this, he decided to isolate himself from the world. He set up his desk in a corner with his computer and industrial ear protectors, the kind used by construction workers. For Navinder, any distraction meant losses of thousands of dollars, and that was something he was not willing to allow. Over time, Navinder became something of a legend within the company. Everyone saw him generating huge amounts of money, moving large sums of assets without batting an eyelid. Imagine the pressure of having so many eyes on your every move. His colleagues watched him with curiosity, trying to discover the secret behind his success. What few knew was that his secret weapon was E-mini futures. These electronic contracts, which represented only a fraction of standard futures contracts, gave him an advantage that others could not match. Thanks to them, he had access to a variety of markets: stock indices, interest rates, currencies, and it didn't take him long to become a true expert at managing them. Navinder used to trade heavily on the S&P 500, one of the world's most important stock indices. This index is based on the market capitalization of 500 large companies whose shares are listed on the NYSE or NASDAQ, and represents approximately 80% of the total market capitalization in the United States. So every time Navinder made a trade, he was playing in a league that measured the economic pulse of the country's largest companies. Can you imagine having that power in your hands? Navinder spent so many hours trading and analyzing that he developed an almost supernatural ability to predict market behavior. He could sense whether a stock would rise or fall long before it happened, just by looking at the charts on the screen and the market order book. It was as if he could see the future. While others relied on complex analysis, he was guided by precise intuition and deep knowledge, honed by endless hours in front of the screen. However, Navinder's stay at Futex would not last long. In 2008, the financial crisis hit with devastating force, dragging the global economy into the abyss and leaving companies and banks on the brink of bankruptcy. As chaos spread and uncertainty took hold of Wall Street, Navinder made a radical decision: to leave Futex and trade on his own from the comfort of his home. With a computer and more than $2 million he had accumulated at the firm, he set out to multiply his wealth amid a landscape that many saw as bleak, but which he saw as an opportunity. The crisis was devouring large banks and sinking entire economies, with governments reeling as they tried to contain the disaster. But where others saw ruin, Navinder saw a pattern, a possibility. He was convinced that such low prices would force governments to intervene to prevent total collapse. And true to his instincts, he decided to make a bet that, to many, would have been madness. He bet all his money, more than $2 million, that the authorities would rescue the financial system and prices would rise again. It was a huge risk, a reckless move that could cost him everything, but the reward was too tempting to ignore. Then, as if blessed by fate or some kind of trick of chance, his prediction came true with astonishing accuracy. He had invested on a Friday, and just 3 days later, on Monday, the U.S. government announced a massive economic rescue plan. Navinder had read the signs when no one else did, and that clarity brought him a monumental profit. Stock prices soared 19% after the announcement, and that increase meant that Navinder went from having $2 million to $15 million in just 3 days. Against all odds, he had executed a masterstroke. What for many was the beginning of an economic nightmare was for him the coup that catapulted him into another league. However, he decided not to tell anyone about his success, preferring to leave the money in his account and not spend a penny. Not even his family knew that Navinder was, but with each new success came challenges that no one had anticipated. Imagine this: Navinder Sarao, who had mastered trading from the comfort of his own home, suddenly found himself facing a new threat. High-frequency traders emerged, machines powered by artificial intelligence, capable of executing thousands of trades in fractions of a second, leaving traditional traders like him behind.